Today, we are joined by Nandita Paratka, who is the project manager for the Seven Corners Transportation Phasing Study, the chief of the Transportation Planning Section, Mike Garcia, along with several other staff members and our consultant team. I will now turn it over to Nandita to begin the presentation.
Thank you, Maggie, for the introductions and for this opportunity. Good evening, everyone. I'm Nandita Paratka, Transportation Planner in the Planning Section with Fairfax County Department of Transportation and the Project Manager for Seven Corners Phasing Study. Welcome to the study presentation and to the third round of public meetings, and thank you all for joining today. The intent of today's meeting is to present the recommendations for the construction order of the planned transportation improvements to be implemented in Seven Corners area and provide an opportunity for questions and receive feedback from you. With that, let me share my screen. Maggie, can you confirm if you can see the slides?
Yes, I can see it.
Thank you. Today's agenda will be to go over the study background, give an overview of the purpose of the study and the process, provide an update on the findings based on the previous round of public outreach, which helped develop the recommendations for the phasing order through the interim and future conditions analysis, with an update on the next steps. We'd like to receive feedback through this round of public outreach and finalize the recommendations for the construction order of improvements to be implemented and to help move the project forward with the first phase. Brief background here for the study: the Seven Corners visioning effort, which took place from 2012 to 2015, included a community task force that invited local residents, property and business owners, community and civic organizations, and others to participate in an open discussion about the future of Seven Corners. A transportation study for this visioning effort was completed in 2014, which resulted in the Board of Supervisors adopting comprehensive plan amendment in 2015 and approving follow-on motions. We started a phasing study based on the response to the follow-on motions to determine the order in which the transportation improvements will be implemented in the Seven Corners area as recommended in the comprehensive plan amendment. The improvements include the ring road concept. You can follow my red pointer here, connecting Hillwood Avenue in the west to the intersection of Wilson Boulevard and Roosevelt Boulevard in the east, as shown with the red line here. Making the interchange a 4-lane intersection between Route 7, Sleepy Hollow Road, and Wilson Boulevard, as shown by the blue lines. Widening Route 50 to 6 lanes from Fairfax and Arlington County line westward close to South Street, as shown in green. Adjusting Route 50 ramps on each side of this new intersection to accommodate this new configuration, as shown with the purple lines. Local street connectivity, as shown in yellow and orange lines here, but these were not analyzed as part of the study, and they would occur with redevelopment. In general, the intent of the study is to address reliability and congestion issues on portions of Route 50 by improving the interchange, and to improve access to and within the Seven Corners Activity Center, ultimately simplifying the interchange. The project will also help provide and enhance bicycle and pedestrian facilities in the area. The goal of the study is to determine the order of transportation improvements by looking at the interim conditions between the improvements to be constructed, develop conceptual designs, assess property needs and constructability, and develop more robust cost estimates, and eventually to help with enhancing funding applications and to continue to apply for funding. The process and the steps we developed to conduct the study to determine the order of improvements include assessing and evaluating typical travel conditions in the area for vehicles, pedestrians, bicyclists, and transit users. With the pandemic and the resulting significant change in the travel pattern and volumes, we did not collect field data, but used the available data from VDOT and Arlington County from 2018 and 2019 timeframe, and used streetlight data to supplement the available data to conduct the existing conditions analysis. This step was completed, and the findings were presented during the first round of outreach completed in February 2021. The next step was to develop and analyze future build conditions through travel forecast models, with 2045 being the horizon year with all the improvements, and 2030 the interim year with some of the improvements in place. We presented our initial findings with 2030 analysis with possible first two phases of construction to the public in the second round of outreach, which was conducted in November 2021 and received feedback. And we continued to develop a phasing strategy with concepts while assessing the property needs and also considering some key elements, which included shifting vehicle travel demand away from the interchange, making major travel movements easier, and also considering constructability. And this is where we are currently, as indicated by this yellow star, with the recommendations for phasing. And this is the last round of outreach we're conducting as part of this study to present the recommendations and receive feedback. There were a series of critical decisions that we encountered through the study process as we developed and tested the various phasing concepts, which became the building blocks that led to the next decision. Based on the different components of the recommendations in the comprehensive plan, first we began with identifying the first phase. We then adjusted the network to reflect the travel demand and also public feedback. Through the findings, we identified the next phase and also if the full build is necessary as recommended in the comprehensive plan. And lastly, through the public feedback, we also looked at assessing a 2-lane segment of the ring road, where the comprehensive plan recommended a 4-lane configuration. The next elements of the presentation are built around these components of critical decisions that were made throughout the study process. Identifying a starting point and initially looking at the travel patterns in the area, as shown here for PM peak with more people traveling in the afternoon. We identified a few major movements through the interchange, in addition to the through movements along Route 7, which included Route 50 eastbound traffic to Route 7 southbound and Route 50 eastbound movement to Wilson Boulevard. Based on this travel demand, constructability, and considering previous efforts too, focusing on the west side of the interchange, along with potential residential impacts that would likely occur if starting on the east side, we started our phasing considerations on the west side of the interchange, with the ring road connecting Route 7 in the south to East Broad Street in the north, terminating at East Broad Street as our first phase, and extending the ring road between Route 7 and Route 50, or simplifying the central intersection connecting Route 7, Wilson Boulevard, and Sleepy Hollow Road as our next phase. While testing these phases, the results of the travel analysis with reconfiguring the central interchange showed that the network would experience significant congestion, largely due to the Route 50 and Wilson Boulevard traffic being diverted to Sleepy Hollow Road and the Ring Road with multiple turns. At the same time, City of Falls Church provided feedback that they did not want the Ring Road to enter the city, impacting their property, and also to avoid more traffic shifts to Hillwood Avenue. Considering this feedback, we removed a portion of the ring road north of Route 50, while making a decision to test a scenario with Route 50 and Wilson Boulevard connection where the travel demand is high. We also looked at potentially relocating the transit center, considering the issues with the grade at the current location and with also adjustments to the ramps with this new ring road. Through a significant amount of analysis and feedback, the early phasing was relatively clear that phasing should start on the west side, but the phasing of the next set of improvements was not clear yet, but the independent segments to consider were identified as the ring road in the south between Route 7 and Route 50, the ring road extension in the east between Route 50 and Wilson Boulevard, and reconfiguring the central interchange. This is the revised layout of phase 1 with the ring road between Route 50 and Route 7, with the northern portion of the ring road removed based on the feedback from City of Falls Church. This segment includes 2 travel lanes in each direction, 2-way cycle track on the east side, and sidewalk on both sides of the roadway with landscape panels. And with the shift of the bridge over Route 50 a little to the west, and adjusted ramps to and from Route 50. The analysis results showed improvement in operations, adding this segment to the network as many movements that were centered on the interchange area shifted to the ring road, also significantly improving delays along Route 7. Outside the central interchange area, the intersections operate with reduced delays, and this segment was advanced as part of the recently submitted smart scale application for VDOT funds. To test the next phase, we looked at either extending the ring road on the east side, referred to as phase 2, option 1 here, or reconfiguring the central interchange to connect Wilson to Route 50 ramps and Route 7, referred to as phase 2, option 2. I'll be going over these concepts in the next few slides. Phase 2, option 1, like I mentioned, will include extending the ring road on the east side with bicycle and pedestrian facilities, along with exclusive BRT lane for bus rapid transit, with the possible extension to Roosevelt Boulevard in the next phases to connect with East Falls Church Metro Station. This segment will also include new and adjusted ramps to and from Route 50. This phase with the ring road extension continued to help improve the network for performance, and in particular at the central interchange, with again more traffic shifting away from the central interchange. As part of making a determination for the second phase, we looked at improving the central interchange area instead of the east side extension, which is our phase 2, option 2. This includes the connection between Wilson Boulevard and Route 50 ramps and Route 7, as I mentioned earlier, based on the failing operations with Sleepy Hollow and Wilson connection as recommended in the comprehensive plan. With this option of the interchange reconfiguration, along with phase 1, caused network performance to degrade. A few reasons contributing to this failure are, while reconfiguring this intersection, we had to provide additional phases and movements for signals, like for the left turns from northbound Route 7 to Route 50 westbound on-ramp, and from Route 50 eastbound off-ramp to northbound Route 7. And also removing Hillwood connection from the interchange caused some impacts. Other issue is the lack of connection for the westbound Route 50 traffic to Route 7. This forces westbound Route 50 traffic to use Patrick Henry Drive south of this location to get onto Route 7, creating delays. So in general, congestion at this intersection spreads to adjacent signals, degrading the network performance. Comparing the two options, 1 and 2 for phase 2, based on the analysis results, we saw that the ring road extension to the east side to Route 50 as the next phase helps network to be highly functional, enabling the movements to shift away from the interchange and also facilitating constructability. Comparing the options, we could conclude that the recommendation for the construction order for the first 3 phases to be the ring road on the west side between Route 50 and Route 7, followed by the ring road on the south side connecting Route 7 and Route 50, and the third as reconfiguring the central interchange connecting Wilson to Route 50 and Route 7. At this point, the missing piece from the comprehensive plan recommendations was the extension of the ring road from Route 50 connecting to Wilson and Roosevelt Boulevard intersection. To analyze the segment, we considered 2045 volumes and analysis, and 2045 analysis started by developing a set of baseline conditions. The baseline included completion of phases 1, 2, and 3. In addition, the baseline included implementation of BRT in the area. The county comprehensive plan includes exclusive BRT along Route 7 and the ring road from Route 7 to Wilson Boulevard. The BRT repurposes a travel lane on Route 7 to exclusive transit lanes so that there are 2 transit lanes and 4 through lanes. This phase 4 connection makes the last set of improvements proposed in the comprehensive plan, enabling better network performance across all modes. This phase showed modest improvements with analysis. Along Route 7, there are some delays experienced from Castle Road to Patrick Henry Drive with a reduced number of through lanes from 6 lanes to 4 lanes to provide bus lanes for BRT. And this segment in general completes the network for accessibility, meeting the active transportation needs and providing exclusive transit access. But considering the right-of-way impacts and also this phase being such a long-term improvement, we will be evaluating the need for this segment as part of NVTC's Envision Route 7 BRT effort. Just to give a brief overview of the Envision Route 7 BRT study being conducted by Northern Virginia Transportation Commission and how that is being integrated to our study in Seven Corners. As the high quality bus rapid transit is being proposed from Tysons to Mark Center, the project is envisioning repurposing a travel lane to transit or to have an already programmed widening of Route 7 to be used for transit lanes instead of vehicle lanes. Curb running transit is proposed through Falls Church, shifting away from Route 7 for a little bit near Seven Corners to connect to East Falls Church Metro Station and to get back onto Route 7 north of Seven Corners. Back to the phasing study, this is to show the bicycle and pedestrian connections and how all the phases through the ring road and the central intersection realignment will also help prioritize these planned facilities in the interchange area, while improving access to adjacent facilities that the county plans in the area, and that will come with redevelopment along Patrick Henry Drive, Wilston Drive, John Marshall Drive, Wilson Boulevard, and Sleepy Hollow Road. These facilities will create a bicycle and pedestrian network that will enable residents to access services and opportunities in the area. As part of the feedback we received from the public during the previous round, we were asked about reducing the footprint of the ring road and making it a two-lane segment. So we tested this two-lane configuration for our phase 1 in 2030 for the ring road between Route 50 westbound on-ramp and Route 7, but with one travel lane in each direction. Analysis indicated that delay is somewhat high along the ring road, but the network more broadly fails because travel demand cannot move as quickly as needed between Route 7 and Route 50 along the ring road. Queue spillback from the ring road on Route 7 to Patrick Henry Drive, impacting other intersections and leading to exceptionally high network delay. In conclusion, considering the comprehensive plan recommendations and based on our analysis, we are proposing this for the order of improvements, with the ring road on the west to be our first phase between Route 50 and Route 7, followed by south extension between Route 7 and Route 50, and phase 3 to be reconfiguring the central interchange and the ring road connection to Wilson Boulevard as the last phase, and proposing the ring road to have 4 lanes and not 2 lanes. These improvements will bring in bicycle and pedestrian improvements along with transit mobility. We have some visualizations here to show how all these phases will come together. This graphic shows the existing layout. This is phase 1 of the ring road between Route 50 and Route 7 on the west side with new bridge here with 4 travel lanes, 2-way cycle track on the inside and around 6.5-foot landscape panels and 8-foot sidewalks on both sides. Here's our proposed second phase extension of the ring road to Route 50 with BRT lane. Route 50 westbound traffic can continue on the service road to access Wilson Boulevard. They have to turn here on the ring road and turn again on Route 7 to access the central interchange. And transit center relocation would happen during this phase. The cross section and the width of the facilities is similar to phase 1, but with the added transit lane. Our recommended third phase is the central interchange reconfiguration, Wilson connecting with Route 50 ramps and Route 7 with planned redevelopment. Again, this is the transit center where buses use Route 7 and turn here to access the transit center. They could continue on the service road or turn here on the ring road to get back on Route 7 northbound or southbound direction. South of interchange, Route 7 would include cycle track and sidewalk with landscape panels. And along Wilson Boulevard, a sidewalk is proposed on the north side and a shared use path along with landscape panels on the south side. Our fourth phase here is the extension of the ring road to Wilson and Roosevelt Boulevard intersection along with redevelopment. Since the trees and buildings are blocking the view, we have a layout here to show the clear cross sections with 4 travel lanes, bicycle track on the inside, and sidewalks on both sides along the ring road with landscape panels, and also the ring road accommodating BRT and the future demand. This is to have a closer look at the interchange, how Wilson connects with Route 50 ramps and Route 7. This is Sleepy Hollow Road. We could consider disconnecting Sleepy Hollow from the interchange or just have right out access only in the future to reduce the moments here at the interchange. We have a few layouts here to show different perspectives. This is looking towards DC. This is the central intersection with Wilson connecting with Route 7 and Route 50 ramps. This is the ring road intersecting at Route 7 on the south side and with Route 50 in the west. This is showing the connection to the transit center through the intersection. Here's a zoomed in view of the interchange and the transit center showing the bus base where buses could stop. This is the ring road on the south side at Route 7. This is towards Route 50 and Wilson and Roosevelt Boulevard intersection. Buses would move along Route 7 and turn here to access the transit center and could continue along Route 50 service road or get back on Ring Road. This is again the ring road at Route 7, looking towards Wilson and Roosevelt Boulevard intersection, a closer look. The ring road over Route 50 on the east side, Wilson and Roosevelt Boulevard intersection is behind us. And this service road connects with Wilson Boulevard. And this is one-way service road for buses from the transit center. And that's the end of the visuals. For the next steps, we are looking to finalize the preferred order for construction phasing with the feedback and approval by the board. And we plan to wrap up the study with documentation and publish it by early next year. The report will include all the details and results from the technical analysis conducted. We are continuing to apply for funding. We have applied for smart scale funds from VDOT and also for MBTA funds from Northern Virginia Transportation Authority. The next step would be to start the engineering and design process for phase 1. And as and when the funding becomes available, right of way phase would begin, followed by construction. We would like to hear any questions or comments you may have. There are various ways to provide feedback. We have a questionnaire. You can scan the QR code here to access it, which will close on November 30th. Or you could also go to the project website and provide comments. The video recording from this presentation is available on our project website. And also we have a list of frequently asked questions on our website with responses. We will incorporate your comments in the next phase as the project advances to design, and there will be continued opportunities for community feedback in the next phases. This is the end of this presentation, and thank you all for your participation. With that, I will open it up to questions and turn it over to Maggie.
Thank you, Nandisa. Now we would like to open the meeting up for questions or comments. Please use the chat box to type your question for me to read aloud. We will answer all submitted questions in order. If you're joining us by phone, please push *5 to raise your hand to ask a question. When it's your turn, please push *6 to unmute yourself to ask your question. Depending on the amount of questions, we may not be able to address them all today. However, we will respond to all questions, and all the questions and answers from today's presentation will be posted on the project website. We also encourage you to submit your feedback to the online questionnaire or to the project website that was provided at the end of the presentation. So with that, I'm going to start providing the speaker with the questions. So the first one, I'm not familiar with a ring road. Will you cover that in this presentation. Landisa, maybe you can provide a high-level overview of the ring road.
Sure. Let me show the slide on the screen here. So this is the concept that was developed based on the study conducted in 2014, which resulted in the ring road concept connecting Hillwood Avenue in the west to the intersection of Wilson Boulevard and Roosevelt Boulevard in the east, as shown with these red lines here. And the study also recommended making this a four-way intersection connecting Route 7, Sleepy Hollow Road, and Wilson Boulevard, and adjusting the ramps for Route 50 and both sides of this intersection.
Okay, thank you. Next question. What are the boundaries of the widening of Route 50?
So based on the previous study, the widening of Route 50 was recommended, but currently, other than the central interchange area, Route 50 is already widened to 6 lanes. But for the central interchange area, we are looking to consider the ramps as the 5th and 6th lane, and we are not widening within the central interchange area.
Thank you, Landisa. Next question. What specific changes have you made in response to public suggestions?
So we received feedback about removing the northern portion of the ring road. So we took that feedback and removed the connection from Route 50 to East Broad Street and ended the ring road here at Route 50. And we also tested a 2-lane configuration versus the 4-lane configuration as recommended in the comprehensive plan. And we also received feedback that the visuals were not very clear during the last 2 rounds of public outreach. So we developed more detailed visualizations.
Thank you. Next question. Have you reassessed the traffic degradation at Castle Road and Route 7? Is it still rated in level of service F? Castle Road and Route 7.
So for Castle Road and Route 7, so with the traffic getting diverted to Ring Road, taking left turns here, and also with the right turning movements from the Ring Road onto Route 7. So we did see some degradation in comparison to the previous phases. But overall, we see that there is a benefit for the network, and the intersections throughout the network perform much better compared to the baseline conditions without the improvements in place.
Thank you. Next question. Has the study also included a Route 50 STARS safety and operational improvements study? Force Church, I guess maybe in Force Church or by Force Church. This is referring to Route 50 STARS safety and operational improvements study.
Mike, do you want to take that question?
Sure, I'll take it. So it's the extent of the study actually go from Jaguar Trail basically up to 495 all the way basically to the limit of this particular study. It kind of stops a little bit around maybe a little bit east of Aspen Lane. What they have in there is kind of, I guess, more near-term geometric improvements as well as some minor kind of improvements to Route 50. Those can be done independent of this particular study, and those actually don't have too much kind of changes to what we assessed here. So they can be done independently, but this study itself doesn't actually preclude any of those. And actually, if they decide to do that, we really won't take any of those out. We did look at, further to the west along South Street where it kind of intersects Route 50, but we aren't proposing any improvements. So anything that kind of results as far as stars, if VIOT has any funding to implement those, then they can do that and it won't affect this one.
Thank you. Next question. Have you assessed the changes to residential communities off of Sleepy Hollow Road? Will their traffic be worse?
Mike, do you want to take that question?
So in this instance, we don't expect that there will be that much changes to the traffic on Sleepy Hollow Road. I think in this instance, actually changing the configuration so that Wilson aligns with Route 50 instead of Wilson aligning with Sleepy Hollow actually probably might help them out a little bit more, so we don't have kind of a direct path into the intersection. We are still facilitating movement from Sleepy Hollow to the Ring Road, but again, unless you kind of live along Sleepy Hollow or you kind of currently use Sleepy Hollow today, I don't see that there would be too much change in terms of future traffic. And actually, the Ring Road is supposed to help facilitate people and as well as cars and bikes getting from kind of the Route 50 to Route 7 area and also the Wilson.
All right. Thank you. Next question. Have you assessed the changes in noise and pollution that residents will experience?
So the noise study will be conducted as part of our next phase when the project will move into design and implementation.
And as far as pollution goes, I think what we'll show is that if we're able to kind of improve operations in the area, as well as provide those other enhanced pedestrian and bicycle facilities, that we should have an improvement in the pollution by allowing vehicles to kind of continue moving forward as needed, and not sitting in long queues and delays, which are also not beneficial to the environment.
Thank you. All right, so we got one more question here. What is the expected change in daily volume on Sleepy Hollow Road?
I do not have the numbers on top of my head, but we can provide that information at a later time.
So I would say that because we don't have it directly on hand, if you want to contact Nanditha at her contact information, we can do that. Or you can provide us your contact information here if you so choose. Either way, either one of those options, and we'll make sure to pull the information for you.
Okay. Next question. Are you adding a new traffic light at Sleepy Hollow and Castle Place?
Yes, there will be a traffic light here at Sleepy Hollow Road and Castle Place.
So I don't see any new questions. So I just want to remind folks, if you're joining us by phone, please push *5 to raise your virtual hand to ask a question. When it's your turn, please push *6 to unmute yourself to ask your question.
If there's anybody attending too that also wants, you can also raise your virtual hand and we can also unmute your mic if you like, so, or enable your microphone. It's up to you. And so as far as a lot of the details, if you're looking for additional, like, I want to know, how intersections may perform in the future, some daily volumes as somebody asked, we're going to publish our report. It'll be on the project website. So we're putting all the components together now. So it'll take a little bit, make sure we review it, but in the next couple months, we'll make sure to have it up there.
Next question. Does the study also include a study of the heat temperature impact due to the increase in paved roads?
No, that is not included as part of the study. Mike, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, we don't generally do that. I think that would probably happen if you wanted to know kind of how that would work. I'm actually not quite sure how that would work. We could give you an idea of kind of what the impervious surface is like today, what it might be like in the future, and then you can kind of make an assessment that way. I know it looks like we're adding some impervious surface, but we're also adding a lot of the streetscape that goes along with it, adding the stormwater facilities that come along with it to help control the runoff. So we're trying to also be cognizant of the fact that we're not just trying to build another heat island. We're trying to kind of retrofit it a little bit. It is a lot of it's pavement today, so we're trying to actually add some of the street trees back in that don't actually exist.
Thank you.
And I'll also add that we're putting in larger kind of tree areas. At least that's the what's being designed to allow for larger trees to be planted in those spaces. Hopefully, if that would have a a reduction in the heat island effect a little bit, at least give the ability to do so. Indeed, can you put your contact information back up so the person who asked the question can make sure they have it?
Sure.
And also, if you don't get her contact information, you can email us on the project website, and we'll get we'll get your email and be able to respond to you.
I don't have it on the slide here, but like
That's fine.
Mike mentioned, you can provide a comment to our project webpage, and I will respond to that.
All right. We don't see any more questions, and either in chat or virtual hand by phone. So we want to thank you again for participating in tonight's public meeting, and have a good evening. If you have any question, please visit our project website, provide your feedback, fill out the online questionnaire. Thank you again for your participation. The first question is, do the plans assume that all existing businesses to remain their current locations?
So far, we have developed around less than 10% design plans, but the intent is to have a minimum impact to the properties. But during the next phase, we will have more detailed design plans, and the impact to the properties, determination to the impact will be made during that phase.
Thank you. Next question. Could you please share more details about the latest design with respect to Hillwood Avenue?
Let me share some of the visualizations here. So we are looking at disconnecting the Hillwood Avenue from the interchange and making it a cul-de-sac around here. And the traffic coming along Route 7 can continue to access the interchange along Route 7. And for the Hillwood, the connection would end here.
Okay. Thank you. So the next question. Will the various perspectives presented here be included in the posting planned for next week?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Sure. Will the various perspectives presented here be included in the posting planned for next week? So I'm not entirely sure about posting. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, all this information will be posted on our web page. The slides from this presentation along with this recording. The video will be available.
Okay. Thank you. The next question. I appreciate you looking at two travel lanes for west side of Ring Road, but disappointed you decided not to go that route. Can you explain at what time of day and for how long there is delay and spillback you mentioned? What level of services are you considering for this portion of the Ring Road? Level service E or D?
So in comparing the 2-lane configuration versus the 4-lane configuration, we noticed that the intersections are failing with level of service F, like between for the 2-lane configuration, there are 8 intersections with level of service F versus 4 intersections with the 4-lane configuration. And we have conducted the analysis for AM peak hours and the PM peak hours.
Okay.
And like I mentioned, so the slow movements along the ring road by reducing the footprint impacts the operations for the network as a whole, creating congestion everywhere else with the traffic not being able to move through the segment.
Thank you. Next question. There are tremendous elevation changes between all the roads concerned, but the designs are very 2D, and it's hard to visualize the elevations. Are there more visualizations showing the elevations?
We do not have more visualizations, but like I mentioned, during the next phase, we will have more detailed designs that we can share.
Okay. Thank you. Next question. Can you speak more about the 2-lanes versus 4-lanes ring road analysis?
So about, okay, let me get to that.
Yeah, it's 2-lane versus 4-lane ring road analysis.
So we tested this segment again through analysis by reducing the footprint, and we saw that multiple intersections fail when we reduce the footprint. Like I mentioned before, like we had 4 intersections with level of service with the 4-lane segment versus with the 2-lane segment. There are more intersections failing, like the number doubled to 8 intersections. With the 2 lanes, and so the traffic moves slowly with the reduced footprint, and it cannot accommodate the demand, and which results in congestion around the other intersections adjacent to this. So the network in general fails with reducing the footprint and creating more congestion in the area.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Assuming a sunny day, what would the earliest date be for start of construction?
That entirely depends on the availability of funding. We have applied for funding, and we are continuing to apply for funding. And as and when we receive the funds, we can move ahead with the next phases. And currently, the smart scale funding application process is in process, and it'll be next year before we know about the availability of funds. But we will be moving ahead with the design phase after the approval from board, which would take about 1 to 2 years to complete, and after which the right-of-way and acquisition phase would begin, followed by construction.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Are there any KPIs around the bike and the ped utilization and the safety? Also, how do the introduced dedicated bike lanes interface with the existing legacy bike infrastructure? Would the expectation be to transfer from sidewalk to bike lane?
Mike, do you want to take that question?
Yeah, I'll take it. One moment. Can you let me find the question again? Sorry, I'm also
Sure.
moderating at the same time.
Let me read the question to you. I know. Thank you for feeding me the question, Mike. So this question is: are there any KPIs around the bike and the ped utilization and the safety? And also, how do the introduced dedicated bike lanes interface with the existing legacy bike infrastructure? Would the expectation be to transfer from sidewalk to bike lane?
So I'm going to take this in just a few different pieces. So how would this the introduction of bike lanes interfere with the existing legacy of bike infrastructure? There really isn't any bike infrastructure today. So what we're doing is trying to work through this and try to plan for it. We have plans from the city of Falls Church, from Arlington County, and from us, both for our bicycle master plan and through this effort to try to make sure that we actually have a cohesive bike network planned among all 3 jurisdictions to make sure everyone can kind of get through here. So to the extent that we need to transfer between, on-road bike facilities being the cycle track or off-road bike facilities being the shared use path, we'll make sure to have those transitions, and we'll make sure to have them occur at logical points and not just to the middle of say a block or something like that. So at any particular key intersection or at a point that makes sense, then that's where we'll kind of have the transitions as needed. As far as any known key performance indicators around bike and ped utilization and safety, a lot of these facilities were kind of put together based on the most recent designs, both from VDOT's guidelines as well as our own personal guidelines and NAC, and being the county and NACTO guidelines, which are kind of all the same. So we look at the speed of the road, the number of lanes, the volume of traffic, and then just make sure that we understand the environment to kind of help put the correct facility there. So if you have some volume and a lot of speed, and it makes indicate that we should probably have more of an off-road facility. As we're putting these facilities together, we try to plan for all ages and abilities. So not just the fearless rider who can kind of go through a particular intersection or bike along the road, but we want to make sure we plan for everybody. In terms of, so I think that kind of touches on everything, but yeah, we definitely have made sure to put ped and bike infrastructure of basically front and center, along with the ease of kind of congestion and trying to get people through this intersection in a safer and kind of more logical manner when we've put this the phasing study together.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Thank you. So next question. Is the ring road moved a bit to the west of Piston's restaurant? Could it not connect back to Route 7, with Hillwood becoming one way and connecting to the outer counterclockwise lanes? Do you want me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Sure. If the ring road were moved a bit to the west of Piston's restaurant, could it not connect back to Route 7, with Hillwood becoming one way and connecting to the outer, which is counterclockwise lanes?
So the feedback that we received was for the ring road to be connection to be removed with East Broad Street because the ring road is going over the property of this fitness center, and the city did not want that property to be impacted. So we pulled it back and connected it with Route 50 here. That's the reason we ended it here.
I'll also
Okay.
point out that the design has changed slightly. In the comprehensive plan, we had a little bit more tight and closer to the interchange, and through this particular effort, through the study that Deetha is leading, is that we found that we actually had to move the ring road out a little bit more to create enough intersection spacing. So that's why you kind of see a slight design change.
Okay. Thank you, Mike and Nanditha. Next question. The designs show many intersections. With so many lights, would the traffic flow really be improved that much?
Yes, with this design, we are definitely looking at simplifying the interchange, reducing from 7 connections to 4 connections connecting Wilson and Route 50 and Route 7, and also provide pedestrian and bicycle facilities throughout the network and improve the connectivity, which will also help for everyone to pass through this area safely.
Okay. Thank you. Next question. Will access to Route 50 westbound from Route 7 be eliminated once the western portion of the ring road is built? Or will drivers have both as options?
Can you repeat that, Maggie?
Sure. Will access to Route 50 westbound from Route 7 be eliminated once the western portion of the ring road is built? Or will drivers have both as options?
For the phase 1, so the drivers can get onto the ring road and access Route 50 through this connection, and they could also continue along Route 7 through the central interchange to get back on Route 50.
So the driver have both options once
Yes,
the western
that's
portion
correct.
is.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you. Next question. Is there enough space to complete the phase 1 near Castle Road without any of the homes at the top of Castle Road being subjected to eminent domain? Thank you.
Like I mentioned, we have less than 10% design plans developed as part of this study, and the impact to the properties would again, the determination would be made during the next phase where more detailed design plans would be developed. But based on the current plan, like I do not see the impacts.
Okay, thank you. Next question. The image shows the planting of many trees in the areas, which is great. Is there a definite part of the project? Is that a definite part of the project?
Yes, that is definitely what we are envisioning when during the implementation phase.
Okay, thank you. Next question. What speed are you designing the ring road for?
We are looking at a speed of 25 miles per hour.
Thank you. Next question. Are you considering how the on and off ramps for Route 50 will impact the shared use path, aka Arlington Boulevard Trail, that will run alongside it? They look to be high conflict areas.
Mike, do you want to take that question?
No problem. So as we currently went through the comprehensive plan, it's been further kind of thought through this particular effort. The shared use paths along both sides of Route 50 that are shown in the plan actually come up the ramps, kind of interface with the actual intersection of Route 7, Wilson Boulevard, and now Route 50, and then they come back down the ramp to continue. We weren't going to send the shared use paths under the interchange, I guess, just because of the fact that we're actually not trying to move any of the walls there, even with this design. So to that extent, we feel like it's better to kind of have people kind of be on top, kind of interact with the surface in a manageable way, rather than kind of being under through the underpass. So that's how we at least plan to address this shared use paths, at least along Route 50 through the interchange portion.
Thank you.
Hold on, let me go back and Maggie, one moment.
Okay, next question. It's great to see so much greenery in these concepts, especially for creating buffers for people walking and biking. However, this still shows a tremendous amount of impervious surface very high in our watersheds. Will future design plans, grant applications identify places to add rain gardens or other stormwater green infrastructure BMPS to slow reduce runoff and improve water quality?
Mike, do you want to take that?
Sure. So with any of these designs, we have to address best management practices, which is the BMP, to slow and reduce runoff and improve water quality. That's kind of what we're trying to do. If you look at the area now, a lot of it's impervious. There's really not a lot of landscape through any of the interchange areas. So going through adding the landscape panels to try to help address stormwater runoff and to kind of control and slow the stormwater runoff will be a part of this project. It's just part of any particular projects that we do now with the county.
Thank you, Mike. So I don't see any more questions. Please use the chat box to type your question for the moderators to read aloud. And also, I do not see anyone calling. Mike, do you?
No, and no one has their virtual hand raised. So.
Okay, yeah. If someone calling, you can push *5 to raise your virtual hand to ask a question.
So with your hand raised, I'm going to enable your microphone. You're going to have to unmute yourself. So Rosanna, your microphone is enabled.
Can you hear me okay now?
Yes, we can.
All right. Hi. Quick question. So can you please review the Sleepy Hollow intersection with the Castle Road? I think I couldn't really tell because everything kind of blends all together. It looks really great design. And my follow-up question is, for the next presentation, do you think they can be like a 3D model of a person? Let's say if they live in one of those houses in those neighborhoods, how they would walk. Let's say if I wanted to go to Giant or Starbucks, can you show how I would walk safely across the road and how I would walk to Eden Center, let's say if I wanted to get some soup? Because right now, like before this call, I saw a mother and a child almost get hit by a car trying to cross the street because there's so much speed going along there. And now that you're saying that there's going to be bicycles, I just want to make sure that we can visually see how safe it will be for the people who live in the neighborhood if we wanted to walk. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Nandita, do you want to take them along a path from basically Sleepy Hollow Castle and then kind of walk them through how they would get to the Eden Center and then the Giant, which is down Route 7, to the two different locations?
Oh, so this is the Sleepy Hollow Road that we're looking at, and that's the Wilson Road connection. And Along the ring road, we are looking at the two-way cycle track along this segment, which will continue to the west, this direction. So exactly which location, Mike, you wanted to point out to?
Sure. So she was asking how we get to the Eden Center, basically from Sleepy Hollow and Castle. So that first path, what we would do is go down Sleepy Hollow and then
This
basically
way,
go to,
okay.
nope, go the other way. Go straight down Sleepy Hollow if someone's walking or biking, and they continue to Route 7. Go straight along Sleepy Hollow to Route 7. I'm using your cursor,
Okay.
Nadita. There we go.
Okay.
And there would be a crosswalk to either cross over the Route 50 ramps, or you cross over Route 7, and then you could cross again over Wilson, and then that you could walk along that sidewalk to take you to the Eden Center. So that would be the most direct path with this. If you're going from Sleepy Hollow and Castle back to that intersection to go to the Giant, you would actually turn right and go down the ring road. And then you would cross over Route 7. And then you could actually cross into the actual shopping center and kind of go along Michael's and get to this Giant that way. So that'd be your direct path to go from there. Rosanna, I don't know if you actually, I may have didn't lower your hand, so I'm going to lower your hand. If you still have a question, you can go ahead and raise it again. Oh, okay, she did. All right, let me, all right, your microphone's enabled.
So sorry about that. Yeah, no, thank you. I was trying to lower my hand. Thank
Okay,
you.
yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All
Okay,
right.
there's a couple questions I put there in the chat for you,
Yes.
Maggie.
So next question. Are any portions of Route 7 asphalt being put up and repurposed, since the ring road is supposed to help distribute the traffic of Route 7? Or is the Route 7 footprint to remain the same?
So the Route 7, the comprehensive plan envisions 6-lane along Route 7, but the 5th and 6th lanes will be repurposed to BRT lanes.
So Route 7 footprint will not remain the same, right, as part of the future projects?
No, the footprint will remain the same. It is envisioned to be 6 lanes, and but the 5th and 6th lanes would be repurposed to the transit lanes.
Got it. Thank you. Next question. Would there be LPIS for people walking and biking?
Leading pedestrian intervals.
Yeah, we plan to provide that, but we will be looking at that more closely during the next phases of analysis.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Is this project considering reductions in curb cuts, driveways along Route 7? Bike facilities are welcome, but looks like there will be interruptions to get into the various parking lots almost continuously.
So we will be trying to restore the access as much as possible.
So I can help out with that a little bit more.
Okay.
So to the extent that we can minimize access points up to Route 7 and other roads, we will do so. We have to preserve access for the businesses, so that's something we can't just take away. But to that extent, a lot of the access will actually kind of be rethought during any sort of redevelopment of the area, which is hopefully what this kind of reimagined intersection was supposed to kind of help spur a little bit, if redevelopment doesn't come along before it. So when we kind of have that redevelopment, then we can relook at the access points and try to consolidate them to help minimize the conflicts or eliminate the conflicts across the cycle tracks or sidewalks or any of those other facilities. I'll also point out that when redevelopment, if redevelopment occurs in this particular area, which we're hoping to have, will at some point, that will also help address some of the stormwater runoff that could occur. There's a lot of parking lots that are there today, so when that happens, they'll kind of have to conform with the current stormwater regulations.
Okay. Thank you, Mike and Nandisa. Next question. Will there be access from Haywood to Route 7?
So for Hillwood, we are looking at the connection here at Roosevelt Street. The Route 7 traffic will have to use Roosevelt Street to get back on Hillwood.
That second part was related to the question you just asked, Maggie.
Okay. Okay, so there appears to be in the rendering, but it isn't explicit.
No, on this we are not going to have a connection with Route 7 here if this is what they're talking about. What we're proposing is the Hillwood being cul-de-sac, but again, during the design phase, the actual connections would be more clear.
And so there is still access from South Street up to Route 7, so that connection still is there. That's predominantly mostly within the city, so we're kind of allowing the city to determine how they want to do that. But yes, we don't have any access from Hillwood to 7 with this concept, and it's being removed as part of this particular simplification of the intersection.
Okay, thank you.
I don't see any more questions, and I'm not sure if anyone else has a question in the chat. Oh, there's one more.
Okay.
Do you have?
I can see that. I'm going to just read from here.
Good.
Next question. Can you show how the BRT will travel through this area using the transit lens? You mentioned the moving the transit center and trying to wrap my head around it. So, Nadisa, can you just show how the BRT will travel through this area using the transit lens?
Sure. So right now we are looking at BRT to move along Route 7 and turn here to access the transit center and get back on Ring Road and to connect with the Wilson Boulevard intersection and further with the East Falls Church Metro Station. And they would come back on the Ring Road and again get back on Route 7 and then access the transit center. Get back on the Ring Road again.
So there are two reasons why we're kind of moving the transit center, as Nandita has shown. One is where it's currently existing today. Because we redesigned the area a little bit and the bridge over Route 50 to kind of get those ramps, we can't keep the transit center where it is because the grades don't work. But the second part is that moving the transit center allows for easier transfers between the bus routes, between the future bus rapid transit and the other routes that kind of currently serve the transit center.
So there is a follow-up question for the same topic. Will there be dedicated lanes on Route 7 in that portion? I just don't see the red lines there.
For this portion of the Route 7, it'll be in mixed traffic. But south of this intersection, don't show it here, but the BRT will be in the exclusive lane.
Okay. Thank you. Next question. Has there been discussion with the city of using roundabouts for some of the intersection, especially Route 7 and Roosevelt Street? This would improve traffic flow as well.
Do you want to take that question, Mike?
Yeah, sure. There hasn't been a direct conversation with the city about that. However, that is a good comment, and since that intersection relies entirely within the city, we will pass that comment along and ask them how they kind of, if they're planning on any kind of incorporation of a roundabout. My guess is they'd have to try to find a little bit extra land to kind of incorporate it depending on the design that's chosen.
Thank you, Mike. Next question. At what point in the Ring Road project will Route 50 be widened?
In the central interchange area, we are proposing to use the 5th and 6th lane, as the ramps as the 5th and 6th lane, and there won't be any widening. But the other section of the Route 50 east and west of the interchange is already widened.
Okay. Thank you. I don't see any further questions here. We will just wait to see if any more question will pop up.
We're at our hour, Maggie.
So we are, okay, sure. So we have reached the end of our time for the meeting. Thank you for your participation. Again, all the presentation and the question and the responses will be posted to the project website. We have a questionnaire online. We would like to receive your feedback. Thank you for your participation and have a good afternoon.
And thank you all for your questions, all great questions. And we would highly encourage you to provide any comments you may have through the questionnaire so we can document the community needs as we advance to the design and the next phases. Thank you. You all have a good day.
So the first question, are there any buildings that will need to be demolished for this new intersection?
So our goal is to minimize the impact to the properties, but but there will be some impacts to the properties. For example, for the phase 1, the public storage will be demolished, and as part of this study, we are producing less than 10% design plans, but in the next phase, we will have more detailed design plans where the impact to the properties will be determined.
Thank you. Next question. Was there any thought to incorporating traffic circles instead of using traffic lights?
As part of the previous study conducted, so this concept was developed with an extensive public outreach. So we are going ahead with this concept and determining the order in which these phases will be coming together.
Okay. Thank you. Mike, do you want to get to some the
Sure.
virtual hands?
Larry Golfer, I'm going to enable your microphone. Okay, your microphone's enabled. You can unmute yourself. I'll just take a moment.
*6.
Nope, this is not that one. He's joined by virtual.
Okay.
So and if you're having an issue, what I will also do is try it another way.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay. On page 13 of the staff report that's indicated on the website, staff report for 7 Corners CVC amendment. Item 7 on page 13 says that there will be a traffic analysis of the roadway networks in the vicinity of Juniper and Patrick Henry, and I'm assuming Sleepy Hollow, to identify potential strategies to limit cut-through traffic and traffic impacts generated by future development to the surrounding neighborhoods. I'm wondering, why is this analysis, it says this analysis will be done after plan approval. First question, why is this analysis being done after the plan has already been approved? I'm concerned about the cut-through traffic down Sleepy Hollow and south on Patrick Henry into Lake Barcroft.
Okay, I'll take this one, Anditha. So we actually did the Juniper Lane connectivity study. It was completed in the spring of 2019. What I can do is make sure to post a link to the chat so that you, in case you don't have access to it. So I'll do that now. So that one was a follow-on motion from the study in which we looked at the concept, and then the community identified the need to look at Juniper Lane to make sure there was kind of reduce the cut through or kind of minimize the impact of the neighborhood. So that was done, and it was mainly done in relation to what Sears was doing, and we wanted to make sure that we had kind of an appropriate network there that would protect the community that still allowed for connectivity to occur. In this particular concept that you see here, what Indith had mentioned earlier is we still have the connection from Sleepy Hollow to Route 7. You can only get to it from east-southbound Route 7 to Sleepy Hollow, kind of a little bit less than what basically what it is today. What she also mentioned was that there's an opportunity to review this to see if we maybe make Sleepy Hollow a right-in only, or maybe remove the connection from Route 7 altogether. So there's still that next step that can be taken with this.
Okay, and what about Patrick Henry Drive in terms of the impact? Even during construction phases, there will be likely to be significant impact of people avoiding the construction areas by going down into those neighborhoods off of Patrick Henry.
So I can't really speak for the construction because it's not generally how these analyses are run. However, we can kind of try to do a tests during our next phase to see what would happen. We did have Patrick Henry and Route 7 in this particular analysis, and that was as part. So we do have that included. And as we go through the different segments, as we're doing the phasing together, we do have kind of an evaluation of what happened there. Nanditha, can you briefly describe how Patrick Henry and Route 7 operate? And Larry, I'm going to go ahead and mute you and put you back in the queue.
Okay, thank you.
So we don't see Patrick Henry Drive on this map here, but so south of this location, what you can see here is where Patrick Henry Drive is. So which movement, Mike, are you referring to?
Not a movement. Can you just generally describe how Patrick Henry and Route 7 are, how that intersection is generally operating throughout the course of this particular study?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, we can't see Patrick Henry Drive here, but the traffic on Patrick Henry Drive get onto Route 7 here and then access the ring road on both sides of Route 7 and then get to Sleepy Hollow Road here.
And what we'll do is when we actually have the study in a final report, it'll be posted to the website too. So the report will be actually able to be looked at as well. But one of the things we showed is that, which is the reason why Nanditha talked about the different segment phasing. The reason we mentioned going in particular order, segment 1, 2, and then 3 is the kind of reconfigured intersection of Route 7's Wilson Boulevard and Route 50. Was that if we went the other way around and did segment 1, 3, and 2, it would actually have bigger impacts on Patrick Henry and Route 7. So in terms of there'll be a lot of diversion occurring because the ramps wouldn't be available. So going with that particular order kind of helped to minimize the impacts on that particular intersection. All right, Yvette, I'm sorry, I'm going to enable your microphone. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yep, I just unmuted. Hi.
Okay. Hi.
Thank you for the presentation. I did have a question on the traffic circle, which you answered. I don't think it was a very sufficient answer. It sounds like the traffic circle wasn't considered at all in your analysis, and to do so would kind of delay the process that you already have. That's kind of the impression that I got. That's not my question. My question is just looking at the expansion of roads in general and adding additional lanes to make this happen and in general across the county. What I'm concerned about is that Fairfax County, for example, has an active transportation goal, which you probably know about. It also has climate goals. We're always worried about like the stormwater impacts of adding more impervious surfaces in the county because we're adding more road lanes. So with all of these different goals that are being that are coming up, that basically the county and VDOT should know about, why are we continuing to expand the number of lanes? So it seems like that is almost counterproductive to these other goals and not really looking at trying to reduce the amount of traffic. And then so my other question would be around that ring road and knowing exactly what the traffic count is for that's predicted. So I know that VDOT usually has like an average daily traffic count for all the roads within the state. Do you have a predicted amount for that? And I guess the reason why I brought up traffic circles, I was wondering if you only had single lanes, that would reduce the footprint, and maybe the flow would continue to could still move. So I'm just wondering, why are we continuing to increase lane capacity when it really is counterproductive to so many other goals?
So during the previous study, a roundabout was considered. There were 6 concepts that we looked at, and this concept was chosen based on its grid-like structure with smaller block sizes, and also to help with compact and to create a walkable environment. And so that's the reason why the ring road concept was first chosen. And for the reducing the footprint, we did test that through our analysis, a 4-lane versus a 2-lane segment, and we saw that the operations are failing with the level of service deteriorating for many intersections, like from 4 intersections operating at level of service F, there are 8 intersections that will be dropping to level of service F, creating a congestion all over the network with significant delays. So the main goal is to also improve safety through improved operations, and the safety would be impacted by reducing the footprint. And we are also providing the bicycle and pedestrian facilities with this increased footprint for different to provide facilities for everybody in the community to access the businesses and other areas.
I'll also just add, you had mentioned climate and stormwater and impervious surface. I think one of the things we're also trying to do is make sure, as Nandita said, improve this for safety. Operations is a key of this too, because if people are sitting in their cars and not able to kind of proceed through a particular intersection or intersections, that does contribute to greenhouse gases. So we're also trying to make sure that we kind of can move all the biggest number of people, not cars, but people through this area as efficiently as we can. So which is why we've had added such improved pedestrian and bicycle facilities. Also, Nandita didn't touch on this yet, but I'm sure, but she did it already in the presentation, is that Route 7 and at least south of here, it's 6 lanes, in some lanes it's 4, but on our comprehensive plan we call for 6 lanes. However, 2 of those lanes are supposed to be either repurposed if they exist, or if they don't exist, will be built as BRT lanes. So making sure that we're providing that high quality transit in an efficient manner. Maggie, do you want to read a couple of the questions that are in the chat?
Sure. All right, so moving on to the submitted questions. Next one has 3 parts. The first one, has the study addressed the stormwater drainage?
Do you want to take that question, Mike?
Sure. No, the study has not addressed stormwater drainage yet. The study evaluated the phasing and how we could put this particular improvement together in a series of phases that allowed it to be kind of built over time, because it was a lot to kind of build at once. As we go through the next design elements of it, we will go through it. Stormwater and design will be part of it. Stormwater kind of retention is also going to be part of it as well. There's also various ways of looking at the stormwater to kind of see how it can be controlled and slowed. The planting of trees and vegetative surfaces also help, but there's also other elements that we can put. If there's a median, we can kind of retain something there. There's low impact devices that potentially can be put along the side of the road if possible. And then if anything else, we can also try to find sites in which we can kind of hold some of the stormwater and slowly release it back into the system, as such as what a development would do in this particular area.
Okay. Next part. Is there any shading included to reduce surface heating in the summer?
Do you want to take that question, Mike?
Sure. So we do show a landscape buffer, and you can see with the trees there. The purpose is to actually try to shade people and bikes as well from any of the impervious surface, to try to provide that element, because we understand trees and shading are just as important to kind of making it a comfortable environment as kind of buffers and safety as well. Those trees are shown here are going to be at least in 6 to 8 foot landscape areas, which will allow for a more mature type tree rather than those maybe 15 or 20 foot trees, which are kind of more ornamental. Maybe get a little bit taller in terms of maybe around 30 foot trees to actually provide some bigger shading.
Okay. So the final part of that question is, have you considered adding tulip turbines to produce energy and artistic feature?
No, but we can pass that along for the design element as it goes through engineering.
All right. Thank you, Mike. So the next question. The scale of the road appears to eliminate any opportunity for seven corners to become a pedestrian-friendly area. Is it correct that the road will be 6 lanes wide, with 2 in each direction for cars and 1 for BRT?
So along Route 7, it'll be 6 lanes, and the 5th and 6th lanes will be repurposed for use for BRT. And we are not planning to go beyond the 6 lanes. What's the comprehensive plan envisions?
Okay. Next question. Adding additional road capacity for drivers is widely known to increase the amount of driving. So the county is making future demand predictions that they are preordaining by making sure drivers have more lanes. Thanks.
So like I mentioned, along Route 7 and along Route 50, we are not envisioning any widening, but along the ring road from existing, there is some increase in the number of lanes considering the demand, and the 2-lane segment for the ring road will not be able to process the demand, creating congestion throughout the network.
Okay, next question. Next, sorry. Mike, is there any virtual hand?
There's a virtual hand. I'll go ahead and do it. And the next question after that will be from Nancy at 7:45. All right. Phone number 202-779-3039. Your microphone is enabled. So again, it's 202. There you go. See, you've enabled it. 202-779-3039. 3039. I'll leave it open for a moment. See if you might have muted on your own end. There you go, you muted yourself again. So it's still there if you want to do it.
Hello, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Dave Snyder.
Yes.
Oh, thanks very much. Thanks for your patience.
Sure.
Thanks for the presentation. My name is Dave Snyder, Falls Church City Council. I just want to reiterate our letter of October 28 and ask for a written response. But I want to make a couple points. First of all, we appreciate the current design for the road that will remove cut-through traffic from the city of Falls Church and route it more efficiently to where the cars can best go when they're going a longer distance. We also appreciate the pedestrian and biking aspects of it. And we also appreciate the enabling of bus rapid transit, which is one of the most important regional projects to meet safety, environmental, and equity concerns throughout our region of Northern Virginia. So this is a big thank you and appreciation for the improvements and a request for response to our letter, as well as that the City of Falls Church will continue to be a part of the planning process going forward. And I just wanted confirmation for that later request. Again, thank you very much for all the solid work that's been done here.
No problem. Thank you, Mr. Snyder. And I can confirm that we will respond to that written letter, and we will continue to coordinate with the city in all aspects of this design as it moves forward. That is something we've done from day one, and will continue all the way through the design and construction and hopefully opening of this segments as they come, as the funding is found and available. Okay, there's no more hands raised, so back to the questions, Maggie.
Sure. So the next question actually is related to Falls Church City as well. So the question is, what are the impacts in scale, effectiveness, etc., of Falls Church City not allowing a complete ring?
So the city was concerned about the impacts to the fitness center as the ring road extends to connect with East Broad Street. There would be impacts to the parking lot of this fitness center. So that is the reason we had to remove this connection and end the ring road at Route 50.
But also to provide a little bit more context to it, do you have the operational impacts?
And also the city asked for the closure of Hillwood connection to the interchange, and that results in the Route 7 traffic being diverted to the Roosevelt Street, and there will be impacts to the couple of intersections here at East Broad Street and also at Hillwood Avenue. There will be traffic diverted and some degradation for the intersection performance.
But in all, I think we can manage to make this work and have a design that's still functional and feasible and actually achieves the intent of the comprehensive plan. Okay, next one.
Thank you, Mike and Nandisa. Next one. How long will construction take, and what will be the level of disruption?
So the construction for phase 1 would may take about a couple of years. And so one of the reasons for phase 1 to start on the west side of the interchange is for the traffic to have a diversion. So the ring road could be used as a diversion through the construction phases that would happen in the next phases.
Okay. Mike, do you want to take a look at the next submitted question?
Yep, we'll go ahead and skip that one that Mr. Snyder was able to provide his comment. So thank you.
Okay, sure. All right. So the next question. For the lands that are supposed to be repurposed in the future, Are they going to be used as vehicle lanes in the immediate future? I worry that once you have a lane for cars, it will be impossible to take it away.
Yeah, the goal is for the lanes to be repurposed for BRT. That is what the comprehensive plan envisions, and yeah, we definitely don't foresee more widening than what is recommended in the comprehensive plan.
Okay. Next one. Can the Route 50 and 7 intersection be made smaller? On the diagram, it looks like it's quite wide and skewed diamond shaped. Very wide intersections are not pedestrian friendly.
The design again is in alignment with the comprehensive plan goals, and the footprint is based on the operational and safety impacts, and also to provide bicycle and pedestrian facilities throughout the area.
I'll also add that that design as it's shown, yes, it's a little skewed, but that's kind of the way the roads kind of coming into it are kind of aligning. As it moves to the next stage, they'll see if they can kind of straighten it out a little bit, but I don't know how much more they can kind of do in terms of trying to get it to be more of a traditional cross instead of a little bit of the skew. But we can try to look at to see what else can be either taken out or kind of reduced in order to kind of make that a little bit smaller if possible.
So I see a really similar question. I'm going to just bump it up for now. Can the Route 50 and the 7 intersection be made more square?
I think we just kind of answered that. So
Okay.
we'll look at it in the design stage and see what we can kind of do. But this is kind of what was able to kind of be done based on the constraints of how the roads align and the kind of trying to preserve some development opportunity with the land there.
Okay. Next question. Thank you for including the bike lanes. Do these bike lanes connect to any other bike infrastructure to make a connected network?
Where the ring road terminates on Route 7 on 50 and either sides. So we have shared use paths along the Route 50 service roads. And do you want to add anything, Mike?
Yeah, so I mean, we have taken this in context with what the city of Falls Church has and Arlington County has for planned bike facilities, and with our own active transportation kind of bicycle master plan map. So in terms of making sure that the planned facilities align, yes, I think we've done a pretty decent job of trying to provide the high quality facilities that are there for people of all ages and abilities as we try to kind of plan that bike and pedestrian network. There will be times when when these are constructed that there will be interim conditions where they don't kind of match up in terms of we'll have to transition from maybe a shared use path to maybe a sidewalk or maybe to on-road bike lanes depending on what's happening. We'll try to make sure those transitions occur at logical points, either at driveways if necessary, but really more at intersections, and make sure they're done so in a way that's safe as well.
A related question for this topic. Also, second, the point about linking bike improvements to make connected network. Have you looked at the proposed Arlington Boulevard bike trail project?
So I'm aware that there's a Arlington project, but I'm not aware of how it's linked into here. I think one thing that we've done is the Arlington Boulevard Trail project, or as any kind of trail, will not continue on Route 50 under the intersection interchange. We're not going to move the walls. We're trying to keep 4 lanes through here, and it's rather tight. And in addition, it was always envisioned in a comprehensive plan that the trails, the shared use paths that abut either side of Route 50 actually come up and meet Route 7, Wilson Boulevard, Sleepy Hollow at the intersection above. They interact there, and then it can proceed back down the ramps or kind of an adjacent facility to continue down Route 50.
Okay. Next question. Because I would think most of the traffic on Route 50 and 7 are commuters, what thought was given for BRT on those two arterials to reduce traffic?
So we do have the Route 7 BRT project that is continuing south towards Bailey's Crossroads and into the city. It does kind of go up, as Nanjitha has shown on the screen, using a future bridge over Route 50 to Roosevelt, going into Arlington County, then into the city, and then continuing back and connecting back up to Route 7 at where Route 29 kind of crosses into it. So that was kind of the envisioned route behind it. So in terms of a BRT along Route 50, that's not in any sort of consideration or long-term plan at this time.
Okay. Next question. Will implementation be done only in concert with the redevelopment of Seven Corners?
No, what we're showing here is a project that would be done by the county and VDOT together, not in concert with redevelopment. If redevelopment comes along, we would ask for them to accommodate it and to facilitate its implementation, but it is not predicated on redevelopment.
Thank you. I think that's all I have for submitted questions. I also do not see any virtual hand.
There's another question.
Okay. When repurposing the lands, when will the lands be repurposed to BRT? Oh, sorry, with respect to repurposing the lands, when will the lands be repurposed to BRT? Which road contains the BRT? Route 7?
That's right. So BRT is envisioned along Route 7, and the Phase 4 of Envision Route 7 studies being conducted by NBTC currently, and based on the outcome of the study, there will be a determination made when those will be implemented.
Mike, I think there's a virtual hand.
Thank you. Yvette, I see your hand is raised. Your microphone is enabled.
Thank you. I've been trying to ask the questions through the chat, but it's hard to get detail. So I thank you for taking my question. Again, I'm trying to dig in a little bit more to the BRT. So thank you again for answering the questions. So right now you're saying in Phase 4, they are studying the Route 7 BRT. It is not existing at this moment or anytime soon. I'm just trying to figure out like what the timeline is. And I know that there is widening of Route 7 farther west. Are you indicating that those roads also may be repurposed to BRT or will definitively be purposed to BRT?
So
and again, what's that timeline?
Sure. Let me try to take it in stages, and then I don't know. I can't give you a definitive timeline because one is still being studied and two, funding is still being actually acquired. So in terms of what's being done on Route 7 now, to the west, it's west of Tyson's Corner. It is being widened currently from 4 to 6 lanes from Tyson's up west, I think almost as far up as the county line. It gets close to it. That kind of widening is not envisioned for the 7 that we're going to talk about. That widening, they looked at HOV on that particular segment to see if it was viable, and they didn't see that it was viable. They can and will run buses along that segment. Actually, connector route 756 or 754, sorry, actually runs along that segment and will continue to do so today. It's a plug for anybody who wants to ride the connector. What I will say is that we're looking at the BRT route on Route 7 goes from Spring Hill Metro, and it goes down International and it comes by Tyson's 2 Galleria, and then it comes onto Route 7. From there, it continues south and east down, at least that's as planned, past the West Falls Church Metro, all the way down to where Route 7 connects into Washington Boulevard, or Washington Street in the city. From there, it'll kind of go over and actually go over to Sycamore and go by the East Falls Church Metro. And then what Nandita has on the screen here is that Sycamore turns into Roosevelt, and that Roosevelt connects right into Wilson Boulevard at the top of the screen that's shown right now. From there, the BRT route continues over that new alignment, and then it actually turns left and heads south towards Bailey's Crossroads. From there, it'll continue on Route 7 and then continue to Seminary and get to the Marks Center. That's the whole route of the Route 7 BRT. In terms of where everything is right now, NVTC is currently studying phase 3 of the, or phase 4 option 1, sorry, of the BRT from through the city, basically from West Falls Church to Wilson Boulevard and Roosevelt. The next segment that will start up in terms of studying the alignment and a little bit more detail and making sure that they kind of have it in the running way where they think it's where it can be, will start in the summer probably of 2023. And that's when they'll look at this segment from Roosevelt and Wilson and all the way to Alexandria, to the Marks Center in Alexandria city of Alexandria. In terms of actual funding of this particular segment, Fairfax County is advancing a particular segment of this Route 7 BRT from Spring Hill Metro to the West Falls Church area in terms of looking at further design of that Route 7 BRT alignment. That's the furthest one that's moved forward at this time. There is no construction date I can offer because it is contingent upon funding and it is contingent upon environmental reviews. That's the whole breadth of the BRT as I can offer it at this time.
Still see the hand? Is that because it's on Sam, right?
Let me see.
Okay.
Oh,
all right.
She took it down.
Okay, cool. So the next question is also related to BRT. Is purpose of BRT to actually reduce traffic in this area? What are the figures comparing BRT projected use with commuter figures to justify BRT?
So in terms of actually, BRT is kind of envisioned to help move people. It's not necessarily it helps us to move the most people through a particular area. That's kind of how we're looking at it, is people throughput, not car throughput. So it kind of changes it when we're looking at it that way. What I can say is that with the next round of the NVTC study that's going to start in summer, we'll get a better sense of our projected numbers at that time. Obviously, we're moving it forward because we think it's actually a viable option and one that if we keep widening roads, it's not going to solve the congestion problem. So we have to find alternative ways of providing high quality transit that's fast and efficient that allows people to get from one destination point to another.
Okay, thank you. So I don't see any more submitted question. So for the callers who joining us by phone, if you have any question, please push *5 to raise your hand to ask a question. When it's your turn, please push *6 to unmute yourself to ask your question.
And I will just reiterate, we're going to do a third meeting of this because of our technical glitch tonight. Want to make sure that should you have wanted to participate and actually watch it and kind of go through the presentation with Nandita, giving it that you have the chance to do so. We will post the presentation that was done yesterday and make sure that's posted online early next week, hopefully Monday or Tuesday, but it will be there. So yes, the presentation will be posted. It is to the project website. The project website is www.fairfaxcounty.gov/study/7 spelled out as a word -corners. And I will just add it to the chat real fast.
Yeah, another easy way to find the project website, if you just Google 7 corners, probably don't even need to type a phasing study, it will pop up. So 7 corners phasing study, it definitely will take you to our project website. All right. Thank you again for participating in tonight's meeting. We're sorry